KiraChat, also known as BadBunny, talking about Israel-Palestine in the PFLP. So apparently somebody made this compilation of BadBunny, now known as KiraChat, who's most known for that. It's only $5 clip that caused all that hullabaloo. You might know her from my channel because we conflicted over I posted an image of Destiny in response to somebody who asked for pictures of pets. It was like a joke. It was me posting fun of Destiny, and she didn't appreciate it because I posted it on the picture of a trans person, and so it eventually got to a point where she was saying like somebody who just had a suicide attempt, which I had had at the time, you know, doing these types of things, etc, 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 and it was not great. You can go look back at it at the time if you want to, but then I didn't appreciate the leveraging of that. So I want to give you that background so you guys know that I do have some bias against the person in question, but I'll try to be as unbiased as I can. But I was told that this is a compilation of some of her wackiest statements around the conflict between Israel and Hamas, and that she comes out in support of the PFLP, which is a militant group based in Gaza. It espouses like communist and like Marxist beliefs. I don't really want to get into how deep they really believe in it, how much it's like window dressing, and how much of it is, you know, deeply held, like it's a deeply convicted communist movement, or is it like communist in the way like China says they're communist, you know? I don't want to get into that, but there are espousedly, according to them, a Marxist, Leninist, communist resistance movement who is engaged in fighting against the Israeli state for decades, including mortar attacks, suicide bombings, and plane hijackings in the 60s and 70s that were very high profile, and where they got their start and got their name. Anyway, let's check it out, because, you know, I haven't really watched BadBunny stream in a very long time, so I don't know what it's like these days. Let's check it out.
The approximately 40-page document, which the Israeli authorities codenamed Jericho Wall, outlined point by point exactly the kind of devastating invasion that led to the deaths of about 1,200 people. It's a sad day when the New York Times is even using the correct language to describe the deaths that occurred on October 7th, and Al Jazeera is not. Al Jazeera keeps saying Hamas killed 1,200 people. They keep saying that, and it's pissing me the fuck off. Stop it. Stop saying that. That's not true. I'm very, very aware.
I mean, I don't know if they killed every single one of the 1,200 people. We don't have a coroner's report for every single one, but the vast majority, it is I think reasonable to assume, were killed by Hamas and those who crossed the border to, you know, kill people, as we have vast amounts of video evidence of them doing it, often from them themselves. And I mean, I don't know what else kind of like raging maniac murder squads were just like kind of touring around trying to find people to kill in their kibbutz at the time. I think it's pretty clear who did that.
Of the like possibility that anybody can grow and learn, and this is what I hope for all of us. I know, like on Blue Sky right now, if you're on Blue Sky, I'm running this mute list called Zionist Scum. So if somebody ever shows like a certain characteristic that I like list, like say they're going around saying Israel has the right to defend itself, they're saying like Zionist lies, etc., etc. I put them on the list.
Wait, what does that even mean? They have a right to defend themselves, as in Israel engages in a drone strike or an airstrike of some sort that kills civilians and they react to it with that line, or that they believe on a basic level that the nation state of Israel has a right to defend themselves? Well, I don't know. I don't know how much nuance she's applying to this.
You know, to make sure that people like don't engage with them, and you know, we can better control the traffic of Zionism on that website. Do we have to sit here or do you protest? Is it possible to go fight on the front line? Not really a good idea to do that. Are you talking about going to Gaza? Gaza? still trying to figure out how to say it. I need to re-listen to that VOD with Cole and like learn the pronunciations.
Is that how she is going to try to pronounce things moving forward? I'd like to see that.
If you're talking about going to the front line, as in going to Gaza, don't consider doing that. It doesn't make any sense to do that. You're just gonna.
That'd be crazy, guys. Don't go to a war zone. That'd be insane. Don't ever do that.
You're probably just gonna die.
Yeah, you'll die surely.
What a front line
So I'm just being sassy.
fight could look like.
But obviously you can't even if you wanted to get into Gaza right now, you can't get into Gaza unless you're embedded with the IDF. You're not getting into Gaza right now. Also, what group would you join? You're going to go in there and join Hamas, join a terrorist organization, get stuck with them for the rest of your lives. Go in there, join Hamas, get killed. What if they order you to do the type of stuff that they did on October 7th? Would you be willing to do that? Anyway.
Is you doing direct action to disable the Israeli genocide machine, because the Israeli genocide machine is happening. It is in action in Gaza right now and in the West Bank.
Young_black_economist just resubscribed for 14 months. Wow, the black advisor.
Young Black Economist. Thank you for the 14 months. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, what you want to do, if you really want to do...
I'm never clapping for you guys, okay? I'm never clapping. I'm not clapping. Don't ever expect it from me.
Fighting on the front lines. It's not worth spending all the money and effort to go to Gaza where there's a blockade. You won't be able to get in anyways. And then like if you did, it would be extremely detrimental.
I don't even know what she means by it'd be detrimental. I mean, it'd be tough for you, yeah. But if you believe that these groups are fighting and it's correct and good for them to fight, then, like, outside of the fact that you can't get in, then you could make an argument for somebody, like, going there and fighting. But you would have to make that argument. You'd have to justify joining the PFLP considering their track record. Same thing for any of these groups, like Palestinian Islamic Jihad or Hamas.
I don't think that's the smartest use of resources or life.
But also, she can't say that on Twitch. She can't say go join the PFLP on Twitch, because then that's insta-ban. It is you as an American saying to go join an organization designated as a terrorist organization by the American government on Twitch, which is owned by Amazon. Yeah, no, like, so that might be another motivator.
Personally. And none of the Palestinian organizations that I've been paying attention to, including PFLP, excuse me, the Palestinian Front for the Liberation of the People's Front for Liberation of Palestine. Holy shit.
The Palestinian Front for the Liberation of Palestine. Or is it the People's Front? It is the People's Front, I think. Now she's confusing me. I had it. Whatever.
Wake up! The PFLP is not, which is, by the way, one of the armed groups that is fighting along Hamas to try to prevent Israel from annexing Gaza right now.
We don't know if they're going to annex Gaza. There's a few radicals and definitely people in Benjamin Netanyahu's government that are very concerning, that would make me concerned. Just by their mere presence. But all of the people who are saying that make me concerned are the think tanks and people who are associated with the government, but nobody that represents the government. There's been no statement from the government about annexation. And so that doesn't mean that, you know, it isn't something we should be concerned about, or something that we should emphasize to the Israelis, that we do not want any unilateral annexation of territory. This would be a good time to mention that Trump okaying the unilateral annexation of the Golan Heights and recognize it as the United States. You know, that might be encouraging certain negative behavior in the future. But as of right now, we don't know that the Israelis are doing that. But I can understand somebody joining one of these groups under the idea that they don't want that scenario to play out.
They're not telling any of us to come down there. So I'm just saying, if you want to take a page out of their book, what they're asking you to do is to speak truth to the Palestinian perspective, to defeat the Zionist lies, to disassemble.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
The Zionist war machine, the genocide machine. For instance,
I'm just the fucking idea of a Twitch streamer being like, hey guys, I was just talking to the PFLP, or I was just listening to like Hamas and crew, and they told me to tell you guys to get out there and you challenge those Zionist lies, guys. You get out there and you find those Zionist lies and you just beat them up. It's just a very funny premise. This feels like a Key and Peele skit.
if you were to handcuff yourself to the doors of an Elbit weapons manufacturer, which is one of the biggest.
Thank you for the 5 Twitch subs or the 5 Kasama rockets in chat. Thank you. It feels like a skit. It just doesn't even feel real.
Weapons manufacturers for Israeli genocide material. That would be something that would be fighting on the front lines, as far as I can, like, in my, that's the way that I translate that. Hey Sakura, what's up? How are you? Welcome. Welcome. You have bottom surgery, Shireen? Ooh, congrats. 5 weeks ago. Congrats. Yeah, by the way, what I just told you is probably illegal, so don't do that. But what I'm saying is, if one were to do something like fight on the front lines, that is what one would do. However, I would never advise that because we love Joe Biden and America and the law here. For the record.
Is she like low key? I think it's kind of obvious. She's just like low key being like, she like low key suggesting that she'd be okay with people like joining Hamas. It's something she would encourage, but something she'd be okay with. That seems to be the vibe I'm getting. She isn't saying that directly, of course. I think it's obvious she's at least implicitly saying that.
Fight on the front lines. That is what one. Ooh, congrats. 5 weeks ago. Congrats. Yeah, by the way, what I just told you is probably illegal, so don't do that. But what I'm saying is, if one were to do something like fight on the front lines, that is what one would do. However, I would never advise that because we love Joe Biden and America and the law here. For the record.
Okay.
I felt that urge to want to go to Egypt. I felt that urge to go to the blockade in Egypt and to stand and protest there. Even if it doesn't make sense. Even if it costs way.
I mean, I don't know what it would. I guess the Egyptian military guards would look at you with your sign like open the border or something. They'd probably be confused. They'd come up to you, speak to you in the local tongue, which you would not know. You would not know what they're saying. I assume your sign would be in English, so they would also not know what your sign says. And then they tell you to leave, which you would not understand, and then they'd probably escort you away. I don't know what else it would accomplish. I mean, if there was a gathering protest on the border or something like that, I can understand it. Like, yeah, but I understand the implication. Okay, I don't want to like shit on her for like a thought like that, because at the very least, right, there's a great injustice happening. Thousands upon thousands of Palestinians are dying. It's a massive tragedy. Feeling like your voice is someone and go somewhere to voice your opposition and try to not feel so powerless considering everything that's going on and make a stand. It's not a bad thing. It just wouldn't make any sense.
Way more money than like the money could be used in a better way. Even if my voice wouldn't be best used there, I have felt that urge to do that because I feel like I have to. Because even if it doesn't make sense, I can't just sit here seeing what I'm seeing and not physically.
The main thing that I think all Twitch streamers can do is just platform people who are affected by the conflict and try to record their experiences to highlight the suffering that's happening, as well as trying to document what's going on and document the history and document the perspectives of those who are living through this history and who this history is going to affect for the rest of their lives.
At least make myself physically present there. You know what I mean? So if that mirrors any of your feelings, then let me know, because that's the way that I'm feeling right now. But my body being present at a blockade isn't actually the best use of my body. The best use of my body right now would be engaging in direct action in the country that is conducting the genocide, that is fueling the genocide, America, the country I currently live in, when I'm in close proximity to, say, weapons manufacturers right now.
Okay. What do you do at the weapons manufacturers?
That's the logic that I've been applying to this.
What is she doing to fight the weapons manufacturers?
That I have more of if I'm going to be sacrificing my life, because that's what effectively you'd be doing if you go to Gaza right now. If you're trying to go into Gaza and fight, you would effectively be sacrificing your life. I think there's more effective ways to go about your activism than that, personally. And you
know what? Let me just be blunt. I agree that you guys should not join Hamas or the PFLP. I don't think you guys should try to infiltrate Gaza and do that. I don't think that's smart.
Again, this isn't just my opinion. I'm taking a page out of the PFLP's book here, where they're not asking people in the West to come to Gaza. I feel like if they wanted us to come to Gaza, they would ask us to come to Gaza. They're not mincing words here. They're already listed as a terrorist organization. Like, they're not like, ooh, we better like watch what we say. I think they've been hijacking planes and shit historically. Like, they're not actually trying to like tiptoe here. So that's the way that I'm conducting myself right now. I'm trying to take a page out of there.
Yeah, well, is that something that gives you pause when talking about whether or not to join a terrorist organization? As a Twitch streamer in front of, your audience of influential NEETs, just as, easily to influence NEETs, just like my easily to influence NEETs, that maybe that stuff, the hijacking of planes and the suicide bombings that they've engaged in and like hotels and marketplaces and stuff like that, does that give any pause? Or is it just because they haven't asked for it? Like, if the PFLP came out tomorrow and was like, Bad Bunny, come to Gaza, we have a suicide vest for you. That's only 5 sticks of dynamite. No, I don't think that I don't think that's the only objection that you should have to joining the PFLP. If they called you up tomorrow, I still don't think you should go. There's a question about whether they have any of a shot at victory and you would be contributing to anything. There's a question about how they conduct themselves, if they conduct themselves morally. There's a question about whether you believe that they would treat you well, or if they would actually treat you well, if you wouldn't just become a hostage and you were just duped by this group to become more leverage in negotiations. There's a million different things you would have to consider. But it seems it's just they haven't asked me to come down. How much does she know about the PFLP?
Look. So who are the communists fighting for Palestine?
The communists fighting for Palestine. The Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine, or...
Is this Redfish? It just says Red Dot. I remember there used to be Redfish, which was funded by the Russian government. Is this the same people? I don't think it just says Red Dot, so I don't think it's the same people. But considering the theme, you never know.
Or the PFLP is a Palestinian Marxist-Leninist and revolutionary organization founded after the Six-Day War in 1967. Founded by Palestinian doctor and Christian George Habash, though it operates as...
Who was raised Greek Orthodox Christian? Thank you very much. That means we're probably related. That means I have PFLP blood in my veins. I'm not.
I just noticed her outfit. I'm sorry. I don't know how that I didn't notice her outfit. What the fuck is she wearing?
I'll look into that any further. Yes, I just want to believe.
She's got more drip than me.
Oh, they're tankies. Guess I'm going to support Israel now.
As secular, meaning religion plays no role in its structure or motive. Previously, the PFLP gained notoriety in the 1960s and 70s for hijacking planes to draw attention to their cause.
It makes me want to listen to that PFLP song now. The one when they say we come out of the rock. It's so I love this song so much. I have to make a correction. I believe this is the DFLP. Wait, is it the PFLP? So the bandanas with the one text and the one text is PFLP if it's red. If it's red, but there's two texts, it may be DFLP. I'm not sure though. DFLP is the Democratic Liberation. Wait, PFLP is the People's Liberation Front.
You probably know the groups that are considered terrorist organizations. You should probably know what they are, who they are, before you endorse them publicly on a Twitch stream.
For Palestine.
And suggest that there's nothing morally bad about joining them. Just a thought. Definitely when there's an active conflict going on. Just a thought. You should probably, know the groups in question.
DFLP is the Democratic Liberation Front for Palestine. Yeah. Sorry. Okay. Democratic Front for the Liberation of Palestine. Thank you.
She's just jamming out to it.
What do you see as a solution that would make both sides content enough to end the fighting forever? There is no solution that makes an oppressor content unless they oppress. I'm not interested in both sides being happy.
Okay.
Nor should you.
Okay. What does that mean in practicality?
What I fail to understand is why anyone thinks that Israel's position, Israel's opinion should be cared about here.
Well, they have nuclear weapons. They're quite powerful. They have much more power than, the Palestinians in question. And so it's not a question of whether it should be. It's a question of is it, And it does. Definitely does. They have a lot of power. You're going to have to negotiate with them to get to a settlement. And so even if some of the things that they want, or a lot of the things that they want, are not morally fair, I mean, you're going to have to negotiate with them at the end of the day. Unless you can plan some crazy military operation where you don't have to negotiate with the nuclear power.
Abolish Israel.
Oh, well, or you got that option, I guess. Just abolish it. We just go to it and we just abolish it. Okay, one second. Okay. You know how Dora did the swiper no swiping? Can we just go like, abolish? Abolish. Abolish. It's like there's like 9 to 10 million people in Israel. They're not just gonna all evaporate. How are you gonna abolish Israel? What's your plan? What's your plan? If you don't want to consider any of their interests, or you don't want to consider their nation at all, and you just want to abolish the nation state of Israel, what's your plan to do it? Or is it just you don't like Israel because of its history, and so therefore you want it to be gone, and therefore whether or not it's practical or whether or not it's achievable, you're not willing to accept anything but it being gone? Okay, well, Israel's here. Israel's going to be here. I've heard people make the South Africa comparison, like, well, South Africa was a nuclear power and it had nukes and it fell apart. The difference is South Africa was like 10% to 15% white. Israel is vast majority Israeli. Vast majority Israeli. And the vast majority of the population does not want to abolish Israel, does not want to do anything close to it. Oh, there's a good reason to believe the majority of the people want to continue the operation in the Gaza Strip, let alone abolish the state of Israel. So what's your plan? Are the Syrians gonna get involved and push Israel to the sea? They're a little busy, fighting a civil war. What are the Houthis gonna cross the Saudi desert? PFLP gonna get their 4,000 fighters together. And they're one of the smaller groups. Their group is in like the thousands, not in the tens of thousands, to fight the hundreds of thousands of Israeli soldiers. It's just like, is this just a grandstand? Is just like a more like your moral epidus, like the moral peak that you wish you could reach, and the standard you're holding up so you can like aim for the stars, hit the moon? Or is this your actual position, like this is what we should strive for? Because it feels like it's that. And if it's that, then you're just in, I mean, I don't know, you're just in fantasy land.
Land back for Palestine. Land back for Palestinians. Let them return home. And Israel be damned. Sorry if you're crying about it, but fuck you. Sorry. Shouldn't have stolen people's land and homes in the first place. Shouldn't have fucking violently forced them out of their lands.
God. The victim tipped $50.
I wonder if they're, and look, I hate to do the both sides and thing, but I kind of have to do this. For all those Israelis that would then be displaced, or for many of them would probably be displaced in the situation. Many of them, their ancestors were displaced from Morocco, displaced from Iraq due to pogroms and anti-Jewish violence. Would those people be able to return? Could the Jewish community return to a free environment in Iran or Iraq or in Afghanistan or in Yemen? Is that likely to happen in this scenario? What about the homes that were taken from them or that they were scared away from? Just something to think about. Like, these people do have to exist somewhere.
I condemn this. I am so condemning this right now.
By the way, if I remember the story correctly, those are Houthi rebels taking a Japanese shipping vessel. Why? What did the Japanese do here? Why did the Japanese have to have their shipping vessel taken over?
I know. Ooh.
Why?
Ooh. You stop that. Stop that.
Does anybody, because I remember originally the story broke and it was Israeli. I didn't check to see if there was any update. We found out it was something else, but that's what the story originally broke as.
It's not cool as hell.
Not Israeli, Japanese, sorry. The boats were Japanese.
It's not actually cool as fucking hell. Yeah.
A Jew co-owned the ship? So it was a Japanese shipping vessel co-owned by a Jew. When you say co-owned by a Jew, do you mean co-owned by an Israeli or co-owned by just like a random Jewish person?
Why did they just vote harder against the ship? If you are not Palestinian and you are making declarations about what Palestinians need, you are being a colonizer. It's not your fucking, it's not for you to say. Whenever I'm talking about how Israel needs to be abolished, whenever I'm talking about how Palestinians deserve all of their land back and how they should have every single inch of their own land taken back, no two-state solution bullshit, I'm echoing what Palestinians are telling me. I'm echoing the words of the Palestinian resistance. I am not coming up with this on my own. Y'all need to fucking stop making the, like, issuing these like prescriptions for what Palestine needs, because they're not reflecting what Palestinians are saying. But yeah, no, 100%.
I mean, if she's listening to Palestinians, that's good. That's good. And that is great. But even if Palestinians want that, it's a question of also if it would be workable or if it's possible. If it's possible, it's achievable, and it's something that could lead to a less violent scenario, then yes. But what you're talking about, I don't even know how you would even begin to approach that goal.
That's a really good point, that like having being like, hey, we're exchanging them for the women and children in your prisons, as opposed to exchanging for the Hamas prisoners. That is very interesting. So that is more of a win. And it should also be said that this was the original intention of October 7th. In my, I can't speak for the entirety of it. In my opinion, I do think October 7th was in part meant to terrorize Israelis, given, and I know that word is a lot of stigma attached to it. I personally don't stigmatize it because it is terrorizing a population that is engaging in genocide, even if they are not feeling like they're directly doing that. But by virtue of the fact that they are in a settler colonial state and their existence necessitates constant violence, constant displacement, constant horrors, constant genocide. So like
okay, so there's a lot to respond to there, and there's a lot to respond to generally. So just respond to the big thing, the thing that I think is most dangerous. Even if a nation state is engaged in genocide, to specifically engage in attacks as Hamas did on October 7th, intended to just terrorize the population, that doesn't make it moral. If you go and you attack the specific institutions that are engaging in genocide, or the soldiers carrying it out, or those directly engaged, then there's a different dialogue to be had. But what we're talking about, if genocide the way that she's defining it, right? If this is the way that we're talking about it, then would it be morally acceptable for rebels in Myanmar to go to villages that have high amounts of support for the junta and just start shooting people at random? Men, women, children, etc. Would that also be okay for Ukrainians to do? For Ukrainians to cross the border into Russia, kill 2,000-3,000 Russians, maybe bomb a movie theater while they're doing some type of TV movie viewing of sorts? Because there is settler colonialism going on in occupied territory, or genocide going on in Myanmar against the Rohingya Muslims. Number one, is this morally acceptable? I don't think so. Number two, does it advance the cause at all? I don't think so either. I don't think October 7th has brought the Palestinian people any closer significantly towards liberation. I think Gaza is now in a much worse place because of it.
if somebody wants to vote for Joe Biden, vote for fucking Joe Biden. Either Joe Biden or Trump's gonna be elected. Both are horrible people. Both are gonna murder Arabs. And whatever. There are pros to Trump being elected. I feel like if Trump were elected, maybe liberals would start to see that, Israel sucks, actually.
I mean, it's so fun, isn't it? Man, just no acknowledgments of the difference in policy. The over 90% reduction in drone strikes under the Biden administration, just throwing that away. Donald Trump said that his solution for Israel-Palestine was that if they spill a pint of our blood, we'll spill a bucket of their blood. That in order to fight terrorism, you have to deliberately target their families. He said that on the campaign trail. So we're just going to put that guy in there so he can make everything actively worse and not be the timid voice in Israel's ear saying, please maybe brutalize the Palestinians less, and instead be a voice in their ear saying, yeah, get him harder. That'll just actively make the situation worse. But maybe then liberals will see that Israel sucks because Trump likes it. Trump was president for 4 years and was unbelievably supportive of Israel. He had a kibbutz named after him by Netanyahu. They had a whole award ceremony for it and everything. Jared Kushner made a peace deal that did nothing but give everything to the Israelis. It was a non-starter. It failed, but it showed what Donald Trump's government was doing for Israel, which was everything. It was doing everything it wanted. And then Biden got in office. And now Biden is supporting Israel through the war. So obviously having Trump in office to support Israel has done nothing to affect support for Israel from the American government.
Maybe liberals would have an
We shouldn't just make things harder for the memes.
easier time understanding what the United States is doing is evil. But then again, they would be liberals and they would say it's because Trump is bad, not the United States. So maybe not. Whatever.
Okay, so what was the point of any of that? Okay.
I don't know. I know a lot of people say they're both the exact same. If you want to say that, fine. I do think there are differences, but like, I'm not going to go around telling people to vote for Joe Biden.
I will. I think you should vote for Joe Biden. I think the CHIPS Act was good. I think the Infrastructure Act was good. I think that his support for Ukraine has been good. And I think his general weapon shipments to Israel, lack of review of the use of those weapons, and just generally his position's policy on Israel, I don't think has been great. But I know that the other option is worse. And so if you don't want the other option to be even worse, and somebody that has no long-term thinking, is solving everything on an ad hoc basis, has no plan, no experience in foreign policy to handle these issues with a giant sledgehammer, and that is how Trump's going to approach foreign policy. Yeah, I think I will vote for Biden, and I will say I hope other people vote for Biden. But that's my take.
I feel like that is, honestly, I feel like it's racist to do that. For me to tell people to vote for Joe Biden, I'm telling Arab people.
It's racist to tell people to vote for Joe Biden. Okay, let me hear it.
Joe Biden. I feel like that is, honestly, I feel like it's racist to do that.
Wow.
For me to tell people to vote for Joe Biden means that I'm telling Arab people to vote for their oppressor. Is there going to be a vote?
I mean, the state oppresses all. You know, in any election, you would be telling people to vote for their oppressor in some way. It's just to different levels of oppression and how they oppress them. Like any state that would arrest me for smoking pot, that is oppressing me in some way, right? But I would still vote for the candidate that is in favor of marijuana legalization if the other candidate wanted to suspend the U.S. Constitution. And it actively called for a suspension of the U.S. Constitution, was drawing up executive orders to seize voting machines, and was heading a scheme to overturn the democratic results of an election, all the way up until the vote was certified. You know, I think that would come into my calculations, and I would say, well, I will choose this person even if the other candidate isn't perfect, because I want to choose the best case scenario.
This will be a vote.
And it's not racist to do. It's not racist to choose the best option available to you.
Yeah, today's stream will be a VOD. I unpublished a lot of VODs.
If this is the case, then that means if somebody was to say go vote for Bernie, right? Bernie Sanders, most progressive candidate that we've had running for office, that's seriously been considered as somebody who can become president. If somebody said to vote for Bernie and Bernie wasn't able to bring about total drug decriminalization, would that be then telling people to vote for their oppressor, telling black people to vote for their oppressor, therefore racist to tell them to vote for Bernie? How far can we extend this logic out to? I don't think it makes sense.
A lot of odds, because there are fascists going around, Zionists that are going down right now, trying to clip chimp people to get them banned. It's already happened to one of us. It's already happened to Idan Simpson. So in order to protect my channel...
That guy is such a salty bitch, Dan Simpson. I just want to throw that out there. I only ever see him being a salty bitch about everyone.
Because I have been saying a lot of things...
And if he saw this, he'd be a salty bitch about it too.
Things that can be construed as terrorism, hate, anti-Semitism, if you will. You know, you've seen how shit's been going down lately. I pulled my VODs. I don't know if it's gonna be a permanent poll, but I just did just for now because I can't with that. But this one I'll leave up because I think we've been pretty uncontroversial, you know, fairly, relatively speaking. By the way, chat, can I get a PFLP flag without getting on a list? Do you think I necessarily will get on a fucking list for that? I saw someone waving that at one of the protests, yesterday's protest.
I don't know. Will waving the flag of declared terrorist organization in the United States get you on a list? I don't know. Think about it. Think about if it's a good idea. Think about if encouraging your audience of impressionable Twitch viewers to do that. Think about if it's a good idea. Just think about it. Just, I don't know, take a few moments.
And I was like, that's an amazing flag. I want that flag. But the PFLP is technically a terrorist organization. So I don't know if I can actually swing that. Yeah, don't do it. Okay, I won't do it. In fact, my name Kira, I named myself Kira after Kira Nerys, who is a terrorist fighting, who fought the fascist occupation of her planet.
This some nerd shit I don't know. I'm
sorry. She called herself a terrorist, for the record. I'm not just saying that. And this is also why I don't have an issue with the word terrorist. A lot of people have like a stigma attached to it. And I understand that, like, you don't want to go around saying Palestinian resistance fighters are terrorists. I understand that. And I wouldn't use that word to describe a lot of them, but like there are terrorists that are fighting for Palestinian liberation. But I don't find that to be a stigmatizing label because it's
come on. I don't find terrorism to be that stigmatizing.
The nature of what you have to do when you are an occupied people and have no other choice.
You have no other choice. Those grandmas deserve the cap. They deserve the cap, guys. She was that mother of four was lacking when she was driving to go get some groceries, and Hamas rolled up. Whole family. You had no choice. The Palestinian people are now that much wealthier and have much higher educational standard. Everything is just so much better now that family of five was targeted instead of the IDF checkpoints or any of the soldiers that you could have been shooting at instead of, fighting a war against soldiers. No, you have to go and burn down the kibbutzes. You just have to. There's no other options. At like what point could you extend this type of like charity, for example, to like Stefan Bandera, or extend this type of charity to any number of different nationalistic movements that have tried to bring back the historical borders of the nation state and what atrocities that were committed in furtherance of that goal? This is like some Henry Kissinger shit right here. This is some real politique. Like, you got to do what you got to do. Like, okay. She is certainly the PFLP's bravest warrior on the platform.
But I wouldn't just say that willy-nilly around liberals, because they're going to take that as, so that's evil people thing. They're evil people. And I don't believe that, as you can tell.
Run, Loner Box, run. Don't watch this.
About resistance and the terrorist thing. Oh, thank you, Dilvakin. That's so sweet of you to say I'm base. Thank you. Yeah, so like in the beginning of like right after October 7th, I was saying Hamas terrorists.
Oh my God.
Hamas
can't believe
fighters.
It. So offensive.
Then I did that for like a little bit on one stream, and then the next day I apologized.
Thank goodness.
Listen, as much as I might.
Thank goodness. Oh. I mean, I didn't want to. That's some pretty extreme rhetoric to use the word terrorist for the people who mowed down all those women and children. I wouldn't want you to misrepresent their actions.
Personally, agree with the label being applied here. I recognize that there's a moral weight added to it that I don't agree with. So until that's rectified, and until there's like a decent movement to like kind of redefine what it means to be a terrorist in terms of like how we digest it morally speaking, being applied here, I recognize that there's a moral weight added to it that I don't agree with. So until that's rectified, and until there's like a decent movement to like kind of redefine what it means to be a terrorist in terms of like how we digest it morally speaking, I'm probably not going to use that word. I'll probably use resistance fighters, resistance, militants. soldiers.
There's a problem though with using words like just militants, resistance, soldiers, stuff like that. We're talking about October 7th. Is that somebody can be a militant and commit no war crime. Somebody can be a resistance fighter and not target civilians. Where when somebody uses the word terrorism, that's the image that is produced in their mind. And that is why I am very comfortable using that word, and that's how it's used in common parlance, to describe what happened on October 7th. And so if you just call the people who did what they did on October 7th resistance fighters, or just like maybe the word militant with none of the details, you could paint a picture of what happened that is not, well, representative of the largest day for the killing of Jews since the end of the Holocaust. I mean, I think that the words here kind of matter.
But terrorists, even if they are being terrorists, I don't think it's appropriate, because I'm always going to be around some liberal that's going to think I'm saying Hamas bad. Oh, apparently Human Rights Watch, which I've already...
I'm going to come across some liberal who said Hamas bad. Okay.
suspected is...
Hey, how did she think that Hamas deals with striking workers? I'm just interested. I just want to see that interaction. Who she would side with there.
is not great, is biased towards Israel. Just officially, let me say that, put that out there. The Human Rights Watch is biased towards the Zionist occupation. They present themselves...
You know what's wild is I had somebody in chat the other day as I was citing Human Rights Watch say the exact opposite thing. That Human Rights Watch was some Hamas rag. Man, they're getting shot. They're getting strays from all angles, man.
Themselves as like this organization that is like perfectly neutral, kind of like Doctors Without Borders. They are not, actually. They are biased towards Zionism. They do some good work sometimes.
What's their biases towards Zionism? Do they acknowledge Israel's existence?
But who fucking cares?
Everybody that I know of that's complained about Human Rights Watch in relation to this conflict is complaining about Human Rights Watch, for example, defending using the numbers from the Gaza Ministry of Health, which many people have called, just Hamas manipulated numbers. They're saying like, hey, here's how it was used in the past and why, it's been consistently shown to be semi-reliable and we can't get anyone on the ground, so we need to get number. Everybody I've seen criticizing Human Rights Watch, it has been about either that or calling them some version of Hamas rag. So it is interesting to get the other end of the spectrum.
Thing I've read from everything that we've been managed to get out of these hostages, that Israel hasn't completely shut down, shows that Hamas treated the hostages very well, ate the same food that the hostages ate the same food that Hamas ate, which is very important.
It's very important. What heroes.
Food is a very much like what you ingest is very much a indicator of like care. So
fucking groundbreaking stuff being said over at the BadBunny stream, man.
Compare that to the Palestinian children. Like actual children being kept in Israeli prisons, being fed white or just uncooked rice as their food. Compare that to Hamas.
Okay, I'm just gonna be blunt. If you see anything coming of the people in captivity, any footage, any pictures, anything being published, all of it is being filmed and distributed by Hamas. All of it. Hamas or Islamic Jihad or what any of the smaller groups that are holding hostages. It's all from them. So they're the ones who are choosing what clips go out and what clips don't. And you know what they're not going to do? They're not going to show the clip where they're beating them up the side of the fucking head. They're not going to show the clip of the ones that are like injured, have been hurt due to their treatment, or they're not giving proper medical attention. They're not going to show the ones that look overly skinny, or not going to allow them to show their body in a way that shows how much weight that they've lost over time. right? I'm not saying that I know that these things are happening in captivity. What I am saying is you cannot trust footage from Hamas or Palestinian Islamic Jihad to prove that they're treating these guys well. And you also cannot trust the testimony of those who still have their family members in custody. They don't want to piss off the group that is still holding their uncles, their brothers, their sons. This is why I don't put much weight into interviews of Ukrainian POWs or Russian POWs. I, at the end of the day, don't know what's happening. When I see those Russian POW interviews and I look at at them extendedly talking about how they were abused by their commanders and you know, they don't have a life for themselves when they go back home, like, I can listen to them and be like, I think that one's probably telling the truth. But at the end of the day, I don't know what happened when that camera goes click and all of the coercive negative incentives that are swirling around. You cannot take photos or videos published by Hamas or the groups holding these people that they kidnapped, civilians that they kidnapped off the street. You cannot take the footage from the kidnapper to prove that the kidnapper is treating the kidnappees well. This is something that we'll probably only really know the truth about, the condition of these people that are being held by any different number of groups. There could be maybe higher standards for the PFLP, but much lower standards for Islamic Jihad, for example. We don't know. But we won't know this until all of the fighting is probably over. We won't know this until all the hostages have been released or killed, way after the fact, probably.
Us eating the same food as the hostages. Also, whenever they could give them medicine, they gave them. It wasn't always accessible because of the whole Israel genociding Gazans thing and blockading their access to any supplies thing. But they gave them medicine whenever they could, healthcare whenever they could. What's another one? Generally just try to emotionally support them by being like kind and supportive to their trauma, and also kept the hostages together. So families were kept with their families, which is again something Israel does.
They were kind and supportive to the trauma of the people they kidnapped after murdering their neighbors. What do I even say to this? What do I say to this? She doesn't know any of this. She does not know how these people were treated. She's just fucking throwing shit out there. She's just throwing stuff out the wall. They provided therapy services. To like, how did it make you feel when we murdered your father? How did it make you feel when we burnt down your home?
Doesn't do.
Like, come out. Unless you have good independent sources for this to show that across the board these people are being treated well, then all of your sources are going to be from the kidnappers.
I saw this mother and this daughter that were separated when they were in prison. Israel purposely separated them and put them in solitary confinement to make sure that they could not have any access to each other and could not support each other. This is a common thing that Israel does. So it's like the immense dehumanization that Israel is conducting against Palestinian people, compared to the kindness and we saw people like getting dragged through the streets, getting beaten by crowds, like when they were originally kidnapped. That's very welcoming, like open arms, like, oh my gosh, thank goodness we have you here so we can get some of our people back. Treating Israeli hostages like family that Hamas is doing.
They treated them like family. Man, I don't want to go to a Bad Bunny family reunion. That shit must get wild. Oof. And they must have a turbulent family history.
So some fun facts about the Palestinian resistance. So,
oh my God.
The October 7th was not the first time that resistance fighters utilized gliders to fly over occupied lands. The night, it said, today we remember, this is a few days ago, we remember the night of the gliders operation carried out by the Syrian Arab martyr Khaled Akar and the Tunisian Arab martyr Miloud bin al-Najah on behalf of the PFLP on November 25th, 1987. Our heroes flew into an IOF base. This is so badass, you're gonna lose your mind. Our heroes flew into an IOF base using gliders in occupied Palestine on hang gliders all the way from Syrian-controlled South Lebanon, armed with AK-47s, silenced pistols, and hand grenades. Acker was captured and martyred, meaning killed by Israel. Al-Najah swept in, killing 6 IOF soldiers and injuring 8 more as he fired his AK at the usurpers without mercy and hurled grenades into IOF tents. These martyrs were hailed as heroes, and the slogan 6 to 1, or 6:1, became popular among Palestinians mocking settlers in Gaza. This is back when settlers did live in Gaza. And also, I've been taking so much time off from my stream because I have been doing a lot of real life action stuff for Palestine, and that means that I don't stream. And I'm not gonna stream my actions. I'm not gonna like do like horrible. I'm not gonna like ruin the OPSEC of a bunch of activists because I want to like make sure I keep my stream alive. Hold on, is this a song? No. Hold on. This is a song! Okay, this is a song that
She's got a lot of these songs.
Okay, what is this called? Is it called a death sentence? I think it's called a death sentence. Dive into the Palestinian tunes. If you want this playlist, it's 5 hours long, so there's plenty of
Dude, if I'm gonna listen to like fucking jihadi music, I'm gonna listen to that Chechen shit. That stuff bumps.
Stuff to listen to. Exclamation point music if you want a link. It's very good. It's I think it's like a PFLP list, playlist, I believe. The approximately 40-page document, which the Israeli authorities codenamed Jericho Wall, outlined point by point exactly the kind of devastating invasion that led to the deaths of about 1,200 people. It's a sad day when the New York Times is even using the correct language to describe the deaths that occurred on October 7th, and Al Jazeera is not. Al Jazeera keeps saying Hamas killed 1,200 people. They keep saying that, and it's pissing me the fuck off. Stop it. Stop saying that. It's not true. And not only is it not true, but we're still...
I mean, it's overwhelmingly true. I mean, I'm sure there's probably a few. I mean, there were a few that weren't, but the vast majority are. I mean, at that point, we'd be saying like, oh, the people in Gaza, saying that they were all those people in Gaza were killed by Israel. We don't know how many misfiring rockets. Like, I wouldn't surprise me if in all the rockets that are being fired, that like a dozen people have been killed by them. But the vast majority of people are being killed by the Israeli bombardment. But I mean, we're cherry picking.
Learning more and more. You don't know everything that happened on October 7th. Why would you definitively announce who the murderer is of every single person on October 7th? That's just sloppy reporting. It's very fucking annoying. Instead, the Israeli military was unprepared as terrorists streamed out of the Gaza Strip. It was the deadliest day in Israel's history. Can I just say, just to put this out there, I fucking take so much offense. I'm not Jewish, to be clear, but like I still, as like a person, take so much offense to the framing that it was the deadliest day for Jews since the Holocaust. Because that implies so much and also dismisses
but it's
so
true.
Much.
It's true, though.
This isn't like a country full of Jewish people and also
dismisses.
tons of other people, and specifically Jews were sought out. This isn't a plan to specifically genocide Jewish people because they are Jewish people.
Well, I mean, if you look at Hamas's leadership and how unbelievably anti-Semitic they are an anti-Semitic organization. They hold anti-Semitic beliefs, and their leadership and representatives and previous charters have openly talked about the need to target the Jews, sometimes not only within Israel, but outside of Israel as well. So it is true that they kill people outside of the Jews. They killed, for example, Tibetan migrant workers and other people as well during the attack on October 7th. But anti-Semitism is definitely very prevalent in the groups that attacked on October 7th. And I do think that anti-Semitism made it much easier for those people to point guns at the Israeli children and men and women and civilians and pull the trigger.
Like, if you were if you're insisting that every Jewish person on the planet needs to move to one spot, and then that one spot you besiege and terrorize and genocide the indigenous people for decades and decades and decades, and then those indigenous people fight back, you cannot claim this is just like the Holocaust. They're targeting Jews. It's such bad faith framing. I hate the framing. I hate it so much.
But the statement that it's the deadliest days for Jews since the Holocaust is true. Whether you like or don't like what that says about what happened is totally separate.
I hate it so much. Hey, Squidditor. What's up, by the way? It automatically makes this seem like the attack was anti-Semitic. Yes, correct. Which is something that people keep repeating. Like, Israel, you're the one that insisted Jews live there, and only Jews live there. Like, that's not Palestine's fault. That's your fault. You're the one who did that.
You put your Jews in front of our bullets.
It's not like Palestine collected all the Jews and put them there and then attacked them. You put them there and then armed them and then had them genocide indigenous people for decades. Ugh. At least if it's embedded in Discord. I don't think it is ever embedded in, like, typically the TikToks that I see in Discord are like, actually, I don't know. I can't speak to that. If the colonizer was someone else, it would be the same fucking reaction. Exactly. It'd be the same fucking reaction. 100%. I should read it. I think I saw an article that said something in the header that was akin to what I just said, and I should read it because I wonder what it says. I wonder if it'll be nice and cathartic to read. Even if they want to make the claim that the IOF is responsible for many deaths of Israelis that day, Hamas only takes responsibility for 300 deaths.
I really don't like reading pieces of media that just tell me what I already know, or just tell me, hello, Dylan, you're right. I mean, of course, it's good to hear that I had a correct assessment of something, but I don't like the idea of going out and looking for articles specifically knowing it's just going to tell me what I already believe again. Whatever.
A day.
I understand.
Can I just make an announcement before we continue with this article?
Not really.
Because I think I'm gathering what this article's about, but we're gonna get. I just want to get the details of exactly, at least according to the New York Times, how deep their Israel's denial has went and what it led to. But I'm seeing a lot of parallels. Okay, I'm gonna back up and not say the scathing remark I was about to say. I will say, like, Hamas is not known for like lying to people about what deaths they cause.
That's not true. Terrorist groups are well known for like claiming each other's attacks. Actually, if she's a PFLP fan, a PFLP head, she should know this. But there were certain suicide bombings that the PFLP did that Hamas actually tried to claim responsibility for, and they had a dispute over it. So there is instances of that happening. They like proudly own up to killing people when they do. They will be like, or they'll be like, yeah, we kill people, but that wasn't our objective. But they will actually, like, okay, so listen, I'm not an expert. So she doesn't believe it because Hamas didn't admit it.
expert, but
admit to killing every single one of those people.
My rudimentary understanding of Hamas, and I'm trying to become better and better about understanding them, is that they're not like ever trying to spin any of their shit. They plainly admit what they do. They plainly admit when they like when something fucks up. Say what you will about them, but they're not like the type that go around lying about what they've done.
They do it all the time, whether it's about corruption, whether it's about the aid they steal, like whether it's about where they hide their weapons and in civilian buildings and stuff like that. Yeah, they lie all the time. I think what she means to say is that they're not one to back down from a good old terrorist attack and say that wasn't us because they want to claim any of them. I think that's what she means to get. I think that's what she's trying to get at.
Like, so, whereas Israel is always lying about what they're doing. Always. So
okay, so Hamas is always telling the truth while Israel is always lying. See the dogmatic worldview just born for you right before your eyes.
Hamas is like, yeah, we ended up killing these many people on October 7th. And Israel's like, no, you didn't. You killed more. I'm believing Hamas. Sorry. Because Hamas has like...
So she's just saying if Israel says one thing, Hamas says the other. She's just going to believe Hamas because she trusts Hamas more. Okay. I think that's a terrible, terrible idea because they both will have incentives to lie in different situations.
From what I've gathered from my rudimentary research, Hamas has a pretty solid track record of like admitting to and taking responsibility for every single death.
What does that mean? What does that even fucking mean?
In a multi-continental effort that could provide a credible alternative to China-led Belt and Road Initiative, which has pushed many countries into a debt trap besides losing control over their assets. How much truth is there to that?
Talking about the debt trap?
Well, it's China doing a little bit of an imperialism on its own, not really on the scale of U.S. imperialism, but of course, American liberals will see it as evil while being blind to their own place within the structures of white supremacy.
Jesus Christ, does every single time they have to criticize any other country, it has to be intertwined with another critique of the United States? Is it impossible to just be like, yeah, the debt trap that China did this one time, yeah, that's bad. Or, yeah, China's relationship with this country is pretty exploitative. Or like, but every single one has to be wrapped up in. I mean, they're still not America. They're still not America. They're still not America.
I've kind of just made the decision to not. I don't know. People always like demanding that I like take a stand against China, and I'm not going to do that.
Brave.
I'm going to criticize certain things they do that are very clearly like, I don't know.
What's bad she did?
You know when,
what's
like,
bad? Okay,
like,
well, I want to know what she thinks is a bad thing that China's doing. Is it threats to invade Taiwan, a nation with extremely dense cities that a bombing campaign would kill many civilians in, that could see the destruction of their civil liberties, that could see the destruction of the democracy that Taiwanese activists fought and died for against the nationalist Chinese Chiang Kai-shek government? Or is it going to be like, China, trades with America, or China is likes Israel semi, or China is like friendly with, like, what? I don't know. Okay, well, let's watch. Let's see.
Oh, don't judge the Democrats, because even though they're consistently horrible, they have a plan. You know that's bullshit? I get the feeling that maybe China does have a plan.
For who?
So, like,
for China.
As much as that type of mindset is like thoroughly bullshit when it's trying to like run defense for America, because it's clear their track record is clearly shown they do not have a plan beyond greed. I
mean, like, I don't know how we could just live through the death of Henry Kissinger, somebody who was very much of the mind of like of building world orders and grand strategy on a long-term scale, which led him to reopen the American relationship with China as it was pulling out of Indochina. and led it to try to expand on the Sino-Soviet split while still engaging with the time. Like, as much as I don't like Henry Kissinger, that's somebody who can think in long-term planning, thinking about the future stability of the United States. There are American statesmen who can do it, and there are other American statesmen who are just always going to live deep in empiricism, just solving crises on an ad hoc basis. I think Donald Trump is an example of that. His time in politics was just solving crises after crises on an ad hoc basis with no, I think, deeper understanding of the politics, of geopolitics. But I mean, China, I assume, has some plan. Xi has had a plan to centralize power around himself, and he has talked about plans to try to reintegrate, aka invade or force annexation of Taiwan. I'm sure he has other plans, but the plans are for who? The plans are for China and China's national interest, or what the Chinese Communist Party believes is in China's national interest.
I don't know. I get the impression that China does have a fucking plan.
When she says like America's like we don't have a plan, it's just greed. Even if I was to buy that America's foreign policy is built solely and purely upon greed, okay? It's a very easy narrative to understand. It would still take intelligence to maintain the global system of trade in order to absorb all of that trade, absorb all that money, to protect like the Strait of Hormuz and all these other locations that are going to need to be protected for, you know, protect the canals. Whatever. It's crazy. America's the most powerful nation on the planet, but also unbelievably incompetent. And China is the most brilliant, thinking into the future country ever, but also completely innocent in every way as it engages in this brilliant military and defensive strategy. Just okay.
China's been very aggressive for the Palestinians. I remember the first days, China's statements were much stronger than Arab countries. Wow. I do know, though, that China does do business with Israel, that China has advocated for, like, they definitely do business with Israel, so Israel does get funds from China, and China advocates for a two-state solution. So I'm not happy about that. So from what I'm reading is that early project loans were overambitious and given to places that couldn't pay them back, putting them in debt, but pulled back afterwards and started being more cautious about who they gave loans to, and is actively working to restructure old debts.
Please clap. Possibly high, Dylan.
I'm not that high. I'm a little high. I'm a tiny bit high. But I just got back to Maryland, and pot's legal here now, so, you know, things are changing. Thank you for the $50. I appreciate it.
The Chinese debt trap myth was debunked by Western outlets like Bloomberg. Really? Was even debunked by fucking Bloomberg? That's amazing. So,
well, that was easy to believe. Well, that was simple. Okay, well, that's done then.
This public
completely debunked. There's no truth to any debt traps that China ever engaged in.
Publication we just read is very, like, a very pro Modi fascist brag. Probably.
Okay, sure, probably. Why not? That magazine we just read, we have no frame of reference of. They're probably just fascists. Let's just accept that face value. Let's not dig into that. Let's just call them fat. Why not?
If it's saying stuff like the Chinese debt trap and it's speaking well of Modi and thinking of him as some sort of liberator.
See how easy that was? Just a quick comment from Chad, didn't even look and see if it was true what they were saying about Bloomberg, and now the rag that they were reading is fascist. Man, all within 30 seconds.
Then we can pretty much throw it in the trash. It's more than a little frustrating that the evidence for Uyghur genocide is tenuous at best, is generated by far-right sources, and was regularly used by and repeated by the very same Biden camp liberals who refuse to call what's happening in Gaza genocide. Also, when I've been trying to dig into the Uyghur.
Whenever people say the evidence for the Uyghur genocide is tenuous as best, we know that there's a mass surveillance campaign going on in Xinjiang. We know that there's a mass detainment campaign. We know that there is a discouragement of things like Muslim names and the exclusion of people from social services if they maintain certain Muslim traditions in naming practices, etc. And we know that they've detained not just a few people, but a lot of people. We know that they've taken children away from their families and put them into, I don't know if I'm going to call them re-education camps, but let's call them re-education programs, separated from their families. We know that tons of political dissidents have fled Xinjiang due to this political persecution. Now, we know that this is all going on. Now, when people talk about like a sterilization campaign and stuff like that, this is the territory we're getting into where I don't have enough knowledge in, and I think I probably would have to do more research, but it does get more tenuous. The evidence gets more tenuous. But when we talk about what China is doing in Xinjiang, it's unbelievably repressive. If you didn't like the idea of the United States spying on New York City Muslims in their mosques unconstitutionally, then you should not like the detainments of hundreds of thousands of people into a re-education program, the separation of them from their children, and the disincentivization and targeting of Muslim religious practices in a region where they've been practiced for millennia.
So-called Uyghur genocide. My understanding of it is that the U.S. is funding groups to basically destabilize China, and instead of like just killing those people, has instead tried to like re-educate them so they can actually be not a destructive part of Chinese society. That's my understanding of actually what the situation is. Now,
wow. So she has no understanding of the situation besides what the Chinese government believes and says. Wow, I wonder what her sources are. I like to see the sources. Yeah, everybody we arrested were just American. These 800,000 people. Yeah, all the 800,000 million people, all these people were just American agents. Yeehaw, cowboy. We had to separate these children from their American agent parents and re-educate them. Oh, all those kids being named Muhammad? Yeah, that's an American agent name. We had to disincentivize that American agentism in the name Muhammad. We had to exclude you from social services due to your American agent activity. America's all-powerful, but also has no plan, but is all-powerful and greedy. But, I mean, it's stupid. I had no idea what you're doing. Come on. What are we funding? What groups are we funding? And let's say we are doing that. Does that give the Chinese government the permission to then, or the authority to just lock up all these people who, even if we were funding certain groups, are almost certainly not all related with the organization when you talk about the scale that this is being funded? And what evidence does the Chinese government put forward to justify such a mass detainment? It's better be better than like a spy or two to detain hundreds upon hundreds of thousands of people, separate them from their kids, cause people to flee overseas, to be separate from their families for years, separated from their family for years. People were killed in the prison system. People disappeared, never to be found again. And in her answer as well, but America fund opposition is what I know. So instead of killing them all, they've decided to welcome them with their big open arms. Get the fuck out of here. Come on, get the fuck out of here.
now,
She heard the Chinese party line from someone and internalized it, and now repeated it to her audience with no filter.
you may disagree with the means to which they pursue that, and I think there's a conversation to be had, but it's a it's a far different scenario than like what liberals, it sounds like to me that it's a far different scenario than what liberals are insisting it is, which is like the evil Chinese people.
We don't have like American agents funneling like tons and guns and weapons in the fucking Xinjiang. There's no, I don't think there is any evidence for this whatsoever. I could imagine that we have like some relationship with some of the diaspora. There, like maybe you find something from like stuff during the Cold War. But we're talking about the most recent crackdown being justified by what?
People just hate Muslims. And now they're just stealing their children and genociding them culturally. But it's also really hard to get any information, honestly, because it's...
Oh, I wonder why.
So much of it is just State Department nonsense.
Oh, it's the State Department. It's not because China doesn't allow free reporting in the region. Or, well, anywhere, but especially in Xinjiang.
And like Cusker said, it is fucking remarkable that the same people sobbing over Uyghur, so-called Uyghur genocide are also the same people that don't seem to give any fucks about Palestinians.
Can I just now say, this person who says that they care about what's happening to Palestinian Muslims now is so willing to accept the Chinese Communist Party line when it comes to the oppression of Muslims in Xinjiang.
There's a great unpacking of the Uyghur.
And by the way, if you're for Palestinian liberation, let's say that there is a lot of separatism in Xinjiang. What would be wrong with them creating a separate Turkic state? I would want to hear Bad Bunny express an opposition to that. Why it's okay to lock people up for even possibly sympathizing with that viewpoint.
Ghana and its primary sources, red sales maybe. I would love to like if you have like an article that I could read, because I'm not into videos. I can't fucking be bothered just to watch somebody. It just give me an article. Let me read it in my own time. Let me pull it up while I'm watching something. I'll read an article. If you have an article or articles, I would love to read those. Maybe not right now, but like generally speaking, maybe post it in my Discord or something, or post it here so I can save it for later. So like. That's fucking China. This is why I'm never gonna be like China good. Like some people are so like China good that they like refuse to like criticize, and I'm never gonna be like that with any entity.
No. I mean, you had a really easy opportunity to critique them for the mass detainment of Muslims, but I mean,
everybody, I think.
Nah, that one you just like, missed, I guess, a little.
Always try to understand reality as like not like a fucking sports team or something.
As she wears a Letterman jacket. I'm sorry.
Not like a fucking sports team or something.
$5. $5. That's all it takes, chat, to support the channel. Go to DylanBurns.tv, donate, sub, support the channel. Or in Gutter Chat, you can drop your Twitch Prime for free, or drop some donos, some gift subs, or support us on Patreon, DylanBurnsTV on Patreon.